Hi, everyone.
Hey.
We're just going to give people a moment to sign in
Amazing
here.
Thrivers.
The Thrivers. So good to be with you. Thank you all so much for joining us.
It's great to have you back.
It's one of our favorite things in the world to just connect from our hearts to yours and talk about relationships. So you've submitted so many amazing questions. We've looked at them and we have a pile here and we are going to try to get to as many of them as possible. And I'm Christine Eartheart.
And I'm Bret Eartheart.
We are founders of the Center for Thriving Relationships, for those that we haven't had the joy of meeting before. And truly our life's greatest passion is helping people find a way to really lift what stands in the way of the connection and the love that's available to all of us. And these questions that came in, thank you for sharing so openly, so vulnerably. We won't be revealing more than just your first name to signal that it's you. And just rest assured, relationships are the area of life that most of us just haven't ever received the roadmap for how to navigate these things. And so we're all lifelong students here and learning and growing together. And it is our greatest wish that tonight deeply serves you. And if there's extra time, we'll open it up for other questions as well. So feel free to.
No, it's just truly our passion. Yeah, to always help people to see the potential of what's there in the relationship. And we live in this age where we're actually more disconnected than ever. For each generation, since the great generation, the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, each generation, actually people are having like less social connections. And so our love life, right, is kind of where we're getting more needs met than ever. And so it's much more important than ever to really expand into like the full potential of our romantic relationship. And so we just love people kind of just maximizing that. And so let's see how we can do that tonight with y'all.
Yeah, and just celebrating all of you for being here. It says so much about you. Relationships, it's not a matter of if we're good people or if there's a whole lot of love there. We can be really kind, wonderful, talented people. We can have really beautiful partnership with the potential for it and still get stuck in really big issues. And so it requires people who are committed to growth and diving in and doing the work. And you are doing that. And we really, really celebrate you. And we have been to Bret as a licensed psychotherapist. I have been a coach for nearly 2 decades, and we've been honored to support thousands of couples. So know that everything that we're going to be sharing with you is based on certainly what we've learned from our own 18 plus years together, as well as the service work that we've done with other couples that we've now systemized and turned into a certification program for coaches as well. So without further ado, these are in no particular order. Well, I guess a lot of them are in the order that they came in, but no specific topics. We're just going to be jumping around all things relationships. All right, so okay, Matt, this one is for you. So Matt asks, what are the communication red flags I should look for early in a relationship in regards to a female having the ability to work out conflicts and be intimate when things get hard or difficult stuff is brought up? So Matt, awesome question. And just want to recognize you for even having that awareness that you want someone like that you're looking for, someone having the ability to work out conflicts, because in a relationship, it's not about whether or not we're going to experience conflict. Conflict is inevitable. When you bring 2 unique human beings together with different needs and preferences and personalities. And so it's knowing how to really manage that, how to quickly repair from those things that happen. So, so I have some thoughts. You want to chime in for that one?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when people come into our office and they sit down and they will share their story and they're like, okay, is there any hope for us? We oftentimes respond with, it's not the size of the challenge. We've worked with couples that have had really, really difficult things that have been happening for decades. It's really a matter of how willing people are to dive in and commit to growth. And if you have two people who are committed to growth, then anything is possible. And so that's what would be the number one thing. Like if having the awareness I have now, if I were to be out dating, that would be the number one. It used to never be on my list of things I was looking for in a partner. That would be number one now, is how growth oriented is somebody. So that when something comes up, we're able to that's our orientation. Like, okay, what is there to learn and grow? It's not, okay, if you would just do this, life would be so much easier. It's like a commitment to personal growth and a commitment to growing the relationship. Okay, what does this relationship need from me, from both of us right now to really be better? But so someone that has some self-awareness and a willingness to take, personal responsibility, I would definitely look for that. Someone who is willing to really hear you. So many relationship challenges can be transformed when we deeply hear one another. And so that's huge. And someone who is generous of spirit, that you're not just focusing on your own individual needs, that, when we enter into a relationship, the relationship becomes its own kind of entity. And we want to make sure that we're always generously looking out for what the relationship needs. And someone who is willing to accept influence. So the research by Dr. John Gottman, that's one of the greatest predictors of divorce, is someone who's unwilling to accept influence from their partner. So I would definitely be on the lookout for that as well. Anything you want to add?
Yeah. Yeah, on that accepting influence thing. So that may be different. It may be different in like with millennials and Gen Z, but that research actually specifically showed that it's the man not accepting influence from the female partner in a hetero relationship that is the biggest predictor for divorce or the relationship ending. And then I mean, it could go both ways for sure, but I think because of kind of some of the lasting effects of patriarchy, in that the men kind of the world, so me being one of them, has a tendency to just be a little less likely to accept influence. So, but it can go either way. And so definitely, we want to be influenceable to our partner. And especially if you're a guy, and I've had to kind of evolve in many ways throughout my life. We want to really kind of hold a high standard to ourselves, and to know that there may be ways where I'm not accepting influence, and even though that I might be exaggerating like the way that I'm accepting influence. So just little tips there. But for Matt, you mentioned in there that you want to know that you can have a partner that you can work through conflict with, and that's great. That's really smart to be looking for that, because right there's going to be conflict over a long-term relationship, and how we deal with that is really going to set the trajectory for a relationship in many ways. When we have kind of a painful experience, then are we able to do the repair work? So with your question, I would encourage you to look for is this person that I'm kind of exploring romance with, are they able to bring a conversation that has some conflict in it to resolution? Are they able to kind of stick with it long enough, and to have a bit of emotional regulation during that conversation, and for you, Matt, to be really observant of yourself, of if you're either kind of getting upset or tending to withdraw during any conversation that includes conflict, so you just want to kind of lean in and just be there for the other person and be present.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. And Matt, you had a two-part question. Yeah. Also just topics to get to know a significant other better early on, so you don't waste your time on someone. So you want to be proactive and set yourselves up for success. A list of valuable questions are such that are good indicators things will work out or not. So a couple things. So one, I don't know if you are connected to us on Instagram. So we feel free to actually reach out to us there, and I can send you a little something that has like a list of questions you can actually ask. So happy to share that with you. And then some of these things are really conversations to have is, do we share the value of growth and leaning in and getting willing and being generous? It's really like core values in a relationship that can, be the difference between just staying stuck in a power struggle and being willing to transform it into new growth and opportunities for your relationship. So that would be, it's really those qualities that even couples that have seemingly very different personalities, different interests in life, if they have those things, it's like, if there's, just a curiosity that you have about each other and a willingness to, engage with each other's world, it's amazing what's possible. So those are very connected. There's certainly more we could share there, and feel free to reach out. So we can send you a specific list of some questions that you can ask as well. We have some of those on social media that are easy to share. So hopefully that's helpful. Matt, if you're here, thanks so much for your question.
Thanks for your question, Matt.
All right. So Tammy from New Mexico says, should my boyfriend of 8 years be upset when I don't feel like going over on a Saturday morning and giving him the only thing that makes him happy? I'm a single mom, and most times I like to stay home and have a restful Saturday morning. Thanks so much for sharing, Tammy.
Yeah. So Tammy, thanks. And you mentioned like the only thing that makes him happy, and I imagine that's kind of a fragile thing with you. Like, maybe maybe you're kind of struggling with feeling like you can make him happy in multiple ways, or just like with your personality. I'm reading some innuendo of sex there, right? And even though that's a very important kind of love language. We want to, just like make each other's needs important. So, what do you?
So, a couple of things. It's so important in a relationship that there is a balance of independence and togetherness. And so, sounds like you're really full on as a mama. And so it's so important that we're honoring that in each other. And, if we have a saying that like, too much closeness and you can really lose yourself, too much space and you can lose each other. And so you want to find that balance in a relationship. And so we absolutely want, time for you to be doing your, tending to whatever needs to be tended to in your life. That is absolutely important. And that we're not, relying entirely on one another for our happiness. We want to come to the relationship really full and looking for each other as more of like a dessert rather than our main entree, on some level. We want to be pursuing our own passions and things that make us come alive. And in this case, for your partner, Tammy, it's also really important to create a deep level of security and safety and trust. So we want secure attachment there. And so, somebody can have really exasperated emotions around something if they don't feel base level safe. So it's kind of how we do these things. And so even pre-framing, that time of like, you are so important to me. So this is for everyone. It's, I'm not sure if this is around sexuality or not for you, or you are just what makes your partner happiest. But this is a common thing that comes up. Someone feeling the heaviness of their partner, basing their happiness so much on whether or not you are there or not. And so again, doing your own thing is so important. It's just like, how do you have both and like have that time on to tend to whatever you need to and create a whole lot of security. So I love like assurance. So I love you. You mean so much to me. I can't wait to hang out with you tonight or tomorrow, whatever it might be. I'll text you later, expressing some gratitude, like how much your partner wants to engage with you. There are other people who would dream of that being the case. So you just want to support them. And, even in moments where you have the ability to do so, soften and like what's really there for them. Like, what are they? There's like a tender calling out. So when in relationship, when we don't feel like our needs are being really heard, we tend to just turn up the volume for asking for them. And so not suggesting that you aren't doing that, but it's just always a wonderful check-in to see like, okay, am I deeply hearing, really, really deeply hearing my partner, or am I just dismissing their feelings? Like, you should just take care of yourself. Because if we're continually dismissing our partner's feelings and wants and dreams, then they'll feel like they need to get louder to get our attention. So we want to validate, like, it's so beautiful. Your partner wants to spend time with you and you bring your partner happiness, and that's amazing. So we want to really, really acknowledge that. And like, what do you really need, sweetheart? Like, I'm right here. I need to do this. I want to be, I'm connected to you. I want to stay connected to you. I want to support you. And I have all these other things. So hopefully that gives you a little something. Tammy, thank you so much for reaching out. All right, next one. And feel free, anybody wants to chime in the chat and say hello. Okay, so Laura from the UK says,
can you get back a relationship when the other person has met somebody else? Yeah, so this is something that we actually work with a lot. And, when, right, we have our attachment and then, there's somebody else that kind of comes, kind of between us to some extent, then, yeah, for one, and it was what the name, Laura. Yeah, so Laura, that's a really painful situation, right? Like, yeah, like those are heartbreaking, like heart-wrenching situations, right? Where we're just like in love with this person and, their attention is going to somebody else. Yeah, and especially if that kind of violates an agreement that we have, right? Like that's super, super painful. So yeah, really my heart goes out for you, Laura. And but if you want, this relationship to save it, for it to work, for it to kind of be on a path of, of growth and to thriving, then, right, this is a very difficult moment you need to get through. And you want to first kind of just be aware of how you're responding, right? Like your pain could be kind of pushing that other person away even further. And so I know it's kind of like a superhuman task when you're hurting like that much, but you want to like soften, into the situation, and it definitely is okay and good to like describe like the pain you're feeling, and possibly betrayal that you're feeling, but you want to kind of succinctly say that. And then, you want to kind of, hold the center for your relationship, right? It's like, like right now in a long-term relationship, like there'll be points at which one person kind of holds us together, right? And, and we'll probably take turns doing that over a many-year relationship or, decades. And so right now, like you're the one holding the vision, right, for your relationship. And so, you want to, definitely just be, present with the other person to really kind of figure out like what's going on. Like this is a moment for curiosity, like, like get really curious, like, what's going on for you? Like, what was it, that was happening between us that, made that other thing possible? And so, curiosity will just be your friend here. Yeah, what do you?
Yeah, everything that Bret shared. I mean, a couple other things would be putting a lot of your energy towards taking just the most wonderful care of yourself right now and just sending you so much love in this really tender place. And not only will that be such a wonderful thing for you, no matter what, like really nurturing yourself right now, certainly it would increase the likelihood of your partner wanting to re-engage. What we want to do is create a really inviting, irresistible environment they want to be close to. So Bret's saying softening, like that makes it safe for somebody to re-engage, and safe, not that you are unsafe, but, just to that part of our brain that's always looking for threats. And so it's like, oh, if you're just like doing all this self-care, naturally we want to be like around someone that's like taking really good care of themselves and growing personally. So that's really important to take care of yourself. And then that softening is really, really big. And also it's really easy, in those moments then when a partner shares the things that haven't been working for them, to want to defend it, because it's like you want them to wake up to how wonderful the relationship really is, right? When we're trying to save a relationship, we're like rallying, for our partner, like, wait, no, what we have is really, really good, which is beautiful. It's not that that's a bad thing. We just don't want to omit the piece where we're taking radical responsibility and really, really apologizing. And it's sort of an irony. The opposite thing happens that we were afraid that would happen is we're throwing ourselves under the bus. We're calling ourselves out. Now they're going to know how terrible we really have been. But instead of that happening, it actually frees our partner from feeling like they need to play that role, because we get it. Like, I just really regret that I wasn't, whatever it might be, whatever it might be for each one of us. But just kind of doing some self-inquiry and taking stock of your own role in things, and not suggesting that it's your fault or you're the one to blame. You just want to always be looking at, okay, like, how did I contribute to this? And I want to use this as an opportunity to take so much responsibility. And the more that you do that and apologize, acknowledge those things with your partner, it gives them hope that things can actually be different and better. So those are another couple of things for you. Hope that's helpful, and just wishing you all the best in every way.
The answer to that question would really could differ greatly depending on like the stage of relationship that you're in, whether you're just like, this is a new person you're just starting to date, or if you're married with children and together for several years. So just acknowledge that
For sure.
The context means a lot there.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'd really also just encourage you, to take care of yourself, just to kind of respect yourself and take care of yourself in that situation.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Laura. Okay, so we've got Marvin from Florida. Hi, Marvin. Marvin asks, how am I supposed to handle negativity and what seems like constant irritation? And there's a two-part kind of question here. I am the one who longs and needs touch and interaction sexually, but even when helping at home and trying to be there emotionally, it seems like my wife rarely initiates, and it seems like romance and sex is a chore. How can this be helped? So, Marvin, you clearly have done some reflection and growth around this, just even you acknowledging that you've tried to help at home and be there emotionally, because those are two of the first things that we check into, like, what does your partner need from you? And it sounds like you're already asking those questions and doing those things, and just want to acknowledge you so much. It's such a painful experience, and it's really easy sometimes in some relationships for sexuality to get dismissed as like, ugh, just sex. And certainly from doing this work, we realize sexuality is so much bigger than that. For so many of us, it's how we feel loved, connected, like we are enough, that we're valued, that we're worthy. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So just want to acknowledge the magnitude of what it means.
Yeah, it's so important that we actually made it one of the 6 pillars of our coaching program and our methodology. So touch and sexuality are one of the 6.
Yeah, it's so important. So, so as far as handling negativity, and negativity is, it certainly wears at a relationship in a really, really, really big way. And so, so a few things. I mean, it sounds like what you're already doing, but just to reiterate this because it's so important, is like, what's underneath it. So we have an expression of wonder and look under. And so if we just react to the irritation and negativity, we could react with defensiveness. We might take it personally. We're just kind of more of the symptom. So we want to look under the hood, and underneath that, there's usually something much more vulnerable and much more tender. So it's like, she may be struggling, with something outside the relationship, and you might not have even like really connected with her about. And so having emotionally connective conversations about that can be so helpful. Or what is she longing for more of? What is she afraid of right now in her life? Like, she's probably struggling in some way, and just getting really tender, and just know that there's just wonder and look under, like, what's underneath that for her in the relationship or outside the relationship. Sometimes people have irritation that's a symptom of resentment that's been building over years. So there could be this raw spot in the relationship that even occurred years ago that she's still holding resentment around. And so just letting her know that your heart is open, you really long to have a relationship where you feel connected, and where there's more positive energy, and saying that. So it's so helpful, certainly, to say what we don't want anymore in a relationship. And it's really, really valuable to paint the picture of what we do want to experience more of in a relationship. So like letting her know your dreams. We, invite clients to use that language, like, what I dream of is And then what can I do to like support us in moving towards that? Another thing is just for you to share really vulnerably. So she may not know just how deeply it impacts you. And so rather than, I'm not suggesting that you aren't already doing this, but rather than, making anybody wrong in any way or just focusing on, what they're doing wrong. It's like, how is it for you? How does it impact you? And that would be the same around sexuality, just getting as vulnerable as possible about how it really, really impacts you. We have so many tools around that. Sexuality is certainly a big thing that couples reach out to for support. And the number one thing is desire discrepancy, which is essentially just when couples have a different interest level in sexuality. And it's huge. So you're not alone whatsoever. And having bonding conversations about, there's so many things, but around, what are the things that allow her to shift out of that space of stress. So I sense in her, if she's in kind of constant negativity, irritation, she is probably running the circuitry of stress a lot in her life. And for most women, not 100%, but for most women, it puts the brakes on. So truly, physiologically, no matter how much she may love you, no matter what kind of music you have going or what she's wearing, no matter any of that stuff, if she's in a stress state, it's like her just desire for sexuality really diminishes. And so, so I think having a conversation with her, just like, how can you really support her?
Yeah, I think the kind of old model of sexuality is that, right, there's like people that are into it and people that aren't, or less so. And in, kind of the newer model is, to realize that with sexuality, there's like brakes and accelerators. So there's like a brake pedal and a gas pedal, right? And I think we've tended to think of like sexuality as just like there's just a gas pedal, right? It's like, oh, and if I'm not sexual, it's because you're not turning me on. But that's a really simplistic way to see it. That just isn't true. And people that we tend to think of as having like a lower sex drive are people who just like, it's probably they're something in the environment is pressing their brakes. Maybe they're overstressed, they're overworked, they're not getting enough sleep, they're not getting enough vacation time, they're not getting enough emotional connection, just they don't feel like someone is like nurturing them, but there's something going on there, and so just employ curiosity, right, to explore that. Marvin. I think you have a great start on this, and I think just with some kind of courageous kind of moving forward with your partner, and just like just get what we find is that when we're just kind of unhappy for any reason, like our relationship tends to be like the easiest kind of scapegoat. It's like just so readily available to blame, right, for my unhappiness. But when if I'm in that place, it's like people aren't trying to do that, right? This is just an unconscious thing. But if I'm in that place and my partner just like is like, oh, I love you so much, like you're wonderful, and it seems I'm just a little worried about you. You seem a little down. Like, what's going on, right? When they're kind of coming at me with that kind of empathy and care, then it's like, then I can suddenly let go of that story that my relationship is causing me problems, and then I can be much more honest with myself. That kind of their presence and reaching out to me helps me get clear with what's really going on. And maybe it's the workplace is too stressful, or it's like I'm doing work that has no purpose to me, and I need to do a career change, or we need growth of some kind that's really unrelated to our relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and one last thing that I want to acknowledge, because this might be really helpful for others, is so Marvin mentioned like it seems like romance and sex is a chore. So one thing to acknowledge, so when we first fall in love, there's naturally, for a lot of people, this isn't for everyone, but there's a lot of desire. So desire precedes arousal. So desire, then arousal. For the partner with like the lower desire, over time that shifts and it actually reverses. So the psychological term for it is responsive desire. And also want to give a shout out to Dr. Emily Nagoski that Bret was just kind of referring to. Brakes and Accelerators, Come As You Are is a brilliant book. Come As You Are is the title. So responsive desire is different, which it sounds like, Marvin, your wife may have, and many of you out there may have. And what it essentially means is that, someone might almost never feel this impulse to be with their partner sexually. And yet, once you start experiencing arousal, so some sort of stimulation, and so that would be a place to look in this case is like, okay, is sex pleasurable? I mean, there's so many things we could say here, but that would be really important. Is it painful? Is it pleasurable? So we want to get it to, so it's a pleasurable experience. And then if it's pleasurable, rather than waiting until you're in the mood, sometimes it takes just experiencing arousal and then someone actually relaxes and then desire comes forth. And so if we only wait until we actually feel this surge of desire, we could be waiting a lifetime. And so just want to really naturalize, normalize that. It's really common in long-term love and nothing's wrong with you. It doesn't mean passion is lost. It just means we need to kind of start with the end in mind rather than waiting around. Just go ahead and kind of lean into the experience and try to make it as pleasurable as possible, obviously entirely consensual and one that you're looking out for each other's pleasure and well-being. So those are there's so much there around sexuality that we could share, but hopefully that gives you a little something. Okay, so let's on to the next one. We've got Andrea, or Andre, I say Andrea, says, my partner has trouble with interacting with me due to basing his actions or inactions on past experiences. This often fails since I am prone to changing my mind or mood based on circumstance. This frustrates him because I do want him to initiate or be a conscious leader. I have tried to explain to him that I am not a law or a formula, but more often than not, he chooses inaction or defaulting to me, which I feel puts me in a masculine energy and repels him. How do we work on this? So what I think I hear in that is this dynamic, which is a really common one. You're longing for him to initiate, to take the lead more. When he doesn't, it kind of probably overwhelms or floods him. He backs off, which then puts you even more into the masculine energy. So how do you work on that? So awesome question. You want me to chime in?
Yeah, go for it.
So with that, we definitely want balance of leading and following in a relationship. And so that would be the suggestion, is that, again, not suggesting that you're doing this, Andrea, but a good little thing to check in about is, certainly we see a lot in our practice, is that someone longs so much for their partner to lead. And what happens is, one, they don't really give them enough opportunity to lead because they jump in before they've even had a chance to lead. And then when they do lead, they criticize them. It's like, well, why didn't you do this though? But why didn't you do this? And it happens so innocently, and it can happen really subtly that you might be thinking like, well, I don't know, I think that I really like it. So it's just something to start noticing and getting curious about in yourself, is when your partner suggests an idea, when they are leading anything, making a meal or taking you somewhere. Do you complain about it? Do you give them tips for how they could have done it better or differently? Because what happens, it trains our partner to not want to lead. And so that's something to really, really look at. And also, they might be on a different timeline than you. You might be someone who is more of a planner. So I love planning more than Bret does. Bret loves being, Bret is plans many things in life. He also is incredible about being spontaneous, which I love. It's so wonderful. Sometimes I get so into planning things, and that's so good. So it's we can allow these things to be wonderful balance. And one thing that we do, because it's really fun and important thing for us to keep balanced in our own relationship, is when we go on a trip, we literally take turns. So it'll be one day I'll plan things, or it'll be my day of leading. And so oftentimes I'll be researching and planning things, and whoever's following your role is just to be positive support. So just to look for the things to appreciate. And then when it's Bret's day, I might ask him what are we doing today? And he might be I don't know what we're doing. And we get to go on this adventure, and it's spontaneous and improvised, and we end up going on these amazing adventures. And then we can do it his way. And I go places I never otherwise would have even thought to go on my own. And so it's just a wonderful way to build that muscle. That's like one little tip to pass along to you. And so, so that is, and of course, you know, for your partner to really step up and lead is so, so important for you to soften. So this is, I'm just kind of speaking to you since you asked the question about like, what can you do in the situation? We need to make sure that you're giving your partner space and lots of positive affirmation any way that they lead. And then certainly if you're the one that's being asked to leave or you want to chime in about.
Oh no, it's a great exercise. And yeah, I mean, this comes up, you know, quite often. And so yeah, we give clients this exercise like all the time. And yeah, people love it. You know, like the person who is kind of felt a bit kind of reserved, you know, about kind of putting their opinion out there or planning, you know, they usually really enjoy like having this like invitation, like to really kind of create some kind of fun, mysterious experience. And in right, the person in kind of your role, you know, they really just enjoy like, like what kind of adventure are we going to go on? And you know, what a surprise. And but the critical thing there is, you know, for you to be like just totally positive with whatever your partner does. So if now, yeah, their planning abilities, right, you know, might be like kind of undeveloped, right? So maybe, you know, they would just be like, take you to a restaurant you always go to or something, right? And that might be actually like really crushing for you. It's like, oh my gosh, like that's all we're doing. But just like be prepared, like even if it's that, like just celebrate it, like enjoy it, and then keep building from there. All right. So yeah, and I might also encourage you to like be aware of your partner's like kind of strengths and weaknesses. And so maybe like this is an area of kind of weakness for them, but what on the flip side of that weakness is a strength that's associated with this that you actually really appreciate. You know, like maybe they're just like a really kind of easygoing person. And if, you know, for, and that can just be super valuable. Like if, you know, if you're kind of wired towards the anxious end of the spectrum, having just the kind of a chill partner could be like medicine for you. But, you know, I get that, you know, like they might, you know, none of us are going to check all the boxes, right? So definitely appreciate, you know, whatever strength is going along with those weaknesses you see in your sweetie.
Yeah, having someone who's willing to engage and participate too. If you had two people that were always initiating, that has its own unique set of challenges. It's not like your partner is just going to initiate in the way you want at the time you want. Like that's not quite how it goes. It's usually the person has stronger feelings about things and has things they want to do. And when you both have that, you know, that can get challenging too. And so just like Bret was saying, like there is a beautiful thing on the reverse side is like, oh, they're flexible and adaptive, and that's amazing. And maybe more easily goes with the flow of things. So definitely celebrate those things. So thanks so much for asking, Andrea. I hope that helped. All right, let's see. We've got Maggie from our hometown. Hi, Maggie. Should your partner have a lock? This is a really, really important one. We have a few on here about trust issues. Should your partner have a lock on their phone if there were trust issues from previous incidents? How do I get past this? I don't want to go through the phone, but with trust being broken, it always makes me wonder what is hiding. And there is kind of two-part. Is it okay to have friends of the opposite sex that your partner doesn't know about? So I see. Yes, Ray, for sure. That last one, just want to acknowledge it's the same when both partners are not initiating. So yes, thank you so much, Ray, for that last thing. Just like if two partners are always initiating or neither partner is initiating, that presents its own unique set of challenges as well. Yeah, there's no way to escape challenges in relationships. It's really, what do we do with them? How do we find the gifts in them, harmonize with them, communicate about them in healthy ways? Okay, so, and someone asked about the replay. Yeah, we'll be sending the replay to everyone who everyone who entered a question. So if you asked about that and you did not answer a question, feel free just to put your email, or you can go ahead and send an email over to Christine@centerthrive.com. So Christine@centerthrive.com if you want to make sure you receive the replay. If you did not submit a question, otherwise everyone who submitted a question will be sure to get the replay. So Christine@centerthrive.com. Okay, so trust. So Maggie, this is so good.
I'll just jump in on the second part, the second question there. And let me just kind of maybe rephrase that a little bit to, is it okay to have a friend that's like a potential sexual partner that the partner I committed to doesn't know about, right? Because with just different orientations, that could go a lot of different directions. But no, it's not okay. I mean, this is just a pretty simple truism. I mean, if our agreement in our relationship is, monogamy or non-monogamy with certain boundaries, then no, we have a part of that commitment is honesty, transparency, communicating kind of what's going on in our life. And if there's, somebody I'm spending time with that, I'm not telling my partner about, it's like, well, that's for a reason, right? That's not by accident. I'm kind of assuming here that, you two really have intertwined your life together and that you pretty much know everything that's going on in each other's lives. So if, there's a part of, each other's life you don't know about, like that's, that probably intentional, right? And I just really want to acknowledge like the sensitivity of this question. And it sounds like, you're asking some big questions, and that you're, some questions that there's probably a lot of some pain and, a lot of fear there. And this would be kind of a great area, right? Just to kind of sit your partner down and just to have like a real kind of, for you to lead the way, to have like a real like open-hearted, vulnerable, conversation, right? Like to very intentionally, whatever kind of pain or fear is there, just to like very intentionally kind of put that to the side, right? So that you can kind of explore, kind of what's really going on.
Yes to all of that. And when it comes to secrets, unless there's an agreement, relationships can take many forms. You just want to have consciously co-created agreements that really honor you both. So certainly if you have a relationship where it works for both of you not to share everything, there's so many ways to do it. It's certainly not what we have in our relationship. And what we typically support couples with in like thriving relationships, because any place where we're withholding an emotion, a secret, a part of our lives is a place where love and connection simply can't exist. And so that's occupying something. And even, if you're not consciously aware of it, you can usually feel it. And if you are sensitive, empathetic in any way, you're going to feel that. And your nervous system is going to pick up on that. We are picking up on so much information every moment that our rational, conscious, linear mind isn't even processing. So it will deeply impact how you show up in a relationship and how safe and secure you feel with one another. And then for the lock on their phone. So, if someone has a lock on their phone because they need it for security at work, or you have kids, or, for various reasons, it's not like intrinsically bad to have a lock on your phone. And, if I had a lock on my phone and I didn't share with Bret the password, I was like withholding the password from him, that would definitely be a little bit of a red flag. And I'm not suggesting that there is something going on there. We just want to get so willing. Like if we know that there's something really important to each other, for the most part, we try to say yes as often as possible. And that's when we're working with couples, we just want to both be doing that. Like, that's important to you. Why not? Like when I know the way to Bret's heart, when Bret knows the way to my heart, like, why would we not just get so willing to do whatever we can for them to have, a more enjoyable experience on planet Earth? And it's not saying we're responsible for those things, but that is huge. And that is, when we were saying before, that willingness to accept influence is paramount in relationships. And so we don't want to be putting in requests every other second, to our partner. But for the most part, if something would help our partner feel safer, that's really, really important. And so, so that, and not suggesting this is the case for you, Maggie, if, and we see this a lot, like if this is getting turned at all, that you're just being controlling, just want to send you a lot of love and validation. And yeah, just acknowledge that it's completely valid and understandable that you would be feeling some discomfort with, if your partner is hanging out with somebody that there could be potential sexual interest with that you don't know about, they're not sharing it with you. And if they have their phone locked and they're not freely giving you the password to it, it makes complete and utter sense why you would have some concern and not feel really safe, complete and utter. So I want to really, really validate that. And there's even been a history of it. So that just adds to it. If you're in a relationship, it can become a power struggle. So I just want to acknowledge that it isn't necessarily a red flag that infidelity, is happening. It could be that it's just a power struggle. Like one partner perceives the other as being controlling. And so they dig their heels in even more and no, I'm going to get even less willing to share my life with you. And then the other partner becomes even more, wanting to control and have a say over what the person says or does. So it could be an indication that you're just kind of stuck in one of those patterns. And so if that's the case, it's a whole different way to communicate, like what's really underneath it, and have a really heartfelt, own any of your own role in it. That tends to soften people's defenses, like lead with how you may have created and contributed to this, if you sense that that's the case, and not something else. Otherwise, I'd be having definitely a vulnerable conversation about just how scared, it makes you, how scared you feel. And when people are recovering from any sort of infidelity, there are trust building actions that you want to do. And some are short term, some are long term. And so, short term, somebody might want to have like permission to check their partner's phone freely. And while long term, that might not be the best solution, short term, if it gives the partner a sense of security and trust, and that it's like, I'm just laying it all out, that can be healthy and really positive and good. So hopefully that gives you a little snippet. All these, there's like so much more that we could certainly share, but just wanted to give you a little something.
Yeah, and just acknowledge here, with a lot of these questions, I mean, context, does kind of change things a little bit, where, if it would, the level of expectation, right, would be different if we were like dating for a few months versus like, engaged, married, cohabitating, kind of a domestic partnership kind of status. So like the more, kind of we intertwine our life together. I mean, we do give up, some individuality, right, kind of in order to really combine our life with someone, to really create a life with someone. And, right, we are pair bonding species. Like we want to have like a main, love in our life. I mean, that's just kind of, deep in our DNA. And, but we, and that does create our greatest life. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's like lots of kind of research on that, just how beneficial it is, to have a very kind of healthy, stable, safe, long-term, romantic relationship. But, there is a cost to that, which is, I kind of give up some of my individuality for something greater than myself, which is the us, right? And that's, and that's like a great price. It's like, it's a, like I'll pay that all life long because it's a good deal. But there is a little bit of cost there. And so if I created my life with someone and they're kind of not kind of acting like an us, like that's that hurts, right? If we're in that relationship. And that could be a non-negotiable, right? It's like, no, that doesn't work for me, right? Because well, just to say that. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go ahead. Courtney from Detroit asks, how do you coach around infidelity? So we came up with the acronym of rebuild. So we'll just walk you through that. So this is kind of rebuilding after infidelity has happened. So the R is taking responsibility and expressing remorse. So such an important part of healing is the partner who has been unfaithful, that they really own it. That again kind of frees the partner from feeling like they have to be on guard, like do you really see what happened? Do you want to like really, really radically own that? And expressing some sort of remorse once you are attuned to what your partner has really gone through. That can be really healing, that you're just taking a moment to really be with them. The E in rebuild is for empathy. So related to that is like really dropping into your partner's heart deeply, deeply, and feeling into the depth of devastation, heartbreak, fear, anger, whatever it might be, all those things. Like really, really empathizing with them and expressing that empathy. Like I can see how and why you would feel this and this and this, and like really deeply going there can be so healing. It's a really important part of rebuilding and repairing from infidelity. The B is to build trust. So as we mentioned, so we have, a whole variety of specific trust building activities that we guide our clients and teach our students to guide their clients through. So again, some are kind of short term, really big, high cost ones, like high cost as in it sends a really clear message to your partner, like I'm so sorry this happened. I regret this. I will do whatever it takes to rebuild trust and connection with you. And so there's kind of high cost ones. And then there's the long-term things, like ways that you just want to be checking in with each other and keep communication open and transparent. So that's the B. The U is understanding. It's oftentimes a really important part of it for people, is wanting to understand how in the world did this happen so that we can prevent it from happening again. And so those are really important conversations. Like it can be a whole variety of things. There's so many different influencing factors with affairs. And so having those conversations is so, so important. The I is invest. You want to invest in the relationship. Like obviously your energy kind of was going elsewhere. So you want to recommit and let's invest in growing the relationship. Our aim when we're working with couples, how we coach people to work with couples, is that our aim is not just to like, okay, let's help you heal a bit from this. It's like, okay, this happened. Let's use it for every possible good thing that it can offer us and turn it into something wonderful. Like let's use this as your big wake-up call to create the kind of thriving relationship you've always wanted, because most couples are just surviving, kind of barely functioning or just functioning. And it usually takes something, it's just human nature, something pretty jarring to kind of get our attention to really commit to things being really, really wonderful. And so we want to use it for that. And so that's the I. You want to invest in the relationship. L is learning to love each other in a way that you may have never known how to love each other. Again, just loving someone is not enough. It's knowing specifically how to love and support them in the ways that we all uniquely need. And chances are at least one person's needs have not been getting met in the relationship. And it's just a good time to refresh and see, like, how do we really love each other best of all moving forward? And then the D is for designing a thriving relationship. And so that's like learning the whole roadmap that we don't learn anywhere else about how do we really create a conscious, healthy, thriving relationship moving forward. And a thriving relationship tends to be an affair-proof one. Like when we're really thriving together, you would not want to do anything that would risk losing each other. And there is such clear, open communication, such deep connection, such safety and security and trust. And it's just like so profoundly amazing that it's like nothing else in the world would even compare to that. And so that's a really important part of it as well. So that's rebuild. So I hope that helps give you a little framework.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And, it really, we, as a practitioner, we also are kind of assessing for like, why did that affair happen, right? And there's kind of three primary things that we look at. We look at, was it kind of driven by dissatisfaction in the relationship? Was it driven by kind of opportunity, or was it driven by lack of conscientiousness? So that's just kind of as practitioners, like that's kind of like one of the things we're doing in the background, that we're not even necessarily talking to the clients about. So just to give you kind of insight and, on the practitioner side, how we would approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you want just to share. So we have lots of different acronyms and tips and tools that we've created, kind of frameworks, a whole kind of coaching system over the years. So we've been doing this work, professionally. We opened the Center for Thriving Relationships over 10 years ago. And it's just really the greatest privilege to share the most intimate spaces with other humans. Sometimes people ask us, like, how do you do that? Isn't it so heavy, like listening to people's problems all day. And it's like the opposite, because yes, we hear the challenges in people's lives, but more than anything, we get to witness the breakthroughs. We witness people falling in love all over again. It's like the greatest love stories ever unfold before our eyes. And it's so inspiring and heartwarming and fulfilling. And yeah, it's so extraordinary. So yeah, it's a great privilege. And we now have a team here. So we trained our team. We have an incredible team of coaches here. And we now have a thriving relationship coach certification. Everything just kind of kept growing and building. We just want to serve as many people as possible, because we really developed this entire framework that we know gets results. So Rebuild is like one. We have over 50 different tools and frameworks and processes that just work, that get breakthroughs again and again and again, that we've used now countless times. Our coaches on our team have used, and now we've trained others, and they're like, oh my goodness, this totally works. And so just wanted to share that and I'm sharing now because we have it, our next round. It's a 6-month program, and it starts mid-July. And so now is the time. If you have any interest in becoming a certified thriving relationship coach, we would be so honored to have you in the program. People are signing up right now and registering, and it's going to be a phenomenal journey. We've really designed it to be kind of 3 parts. It's completely personally transformative. That is so important to us. It's like we're doing this work from the inside out. So no matter where you are in your relationship right now, you don't at all need to have a thriving relationship. You could be single. We all are in relationships of various kinds, and your relationships will utterly transform over the course of those 6 months. Every relationship in your life.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. You'll never see relationships the way again, and you'll be kind of blown away by the beautiful things that unfold. And then how to be we really want to have like world-class relationship coaches. There is such a shortage of people out in the world helping people with their relationships. A lot of people are helping people, but it's not their area of specialty. Very few people have been trained in relationships, and people are longing for help. They need help really more than ever. And we need experts out there that have been specifically trained in the unique skill set of couples. And so you will become trained and really be like a world-class relationship coach that knows both the heart of relationships as well as the science. We bring in what's happening in the brain in times of stress and conflict and sexuality and all these things, the science, the research out there, as well as the heart and spirit of relationships and the emotional depth of relationships.
Yeah,
and then,
our expectations on our romantic relationship are just higher than ever. And in the world that we live in is just more demanding than ever, right? It's like we're more stressed out, we're less socially connected, we're just maxed out and overwhelmed like more than ever. And so there's like so much pressure that's on our romantic relationship. And so we need to be better than ever, right, at knowing what to do. Like we have to be like supremely like optimal, maximizing our relationship. Just to like, be able to, use it as a sanctuary kind of in this world, to be like this sweetie, just to be our best friend and to be allies and teammates kind of every step along the way. And so that's, our approach. That's what our program really creates, in the world. And so we're very proud of it.
Yeah, truly. And so proud of the coaches who just graduated and they're doing amazing work in the world. So it's personal transformation, learning how to be a stellar coach, knowing step by step exactly what to do to get phenomenal results. And then also the business piece. That's really important, that you not only have these incredible skills, but you have the entire business framework and the entire 6-month journey. You're kind of building your business throughout it. We've designed it that way. And so by the end, you're ready to launch into the world with all the business set up as well as all of the skills. So, so just know if anybody is interested in learning more, we are accepting applications now. It's, it just takes 10 minutes to apply. If you go to Thriving Relationship Coach, we'll put it in the chat here, thriving-relationship-coach.com. You can get so much more information. You can watch videos of past students who have taken the program. And we are so available to answer any questions whatsoever about that. And Ray, I see a Ray in the chat. She says that Rebuild framework is gold, and I can see how valuable it is. So happy to hear that, Ray. And Ray, I believe that we get to spend 6 months with you. So I believe you just signed up for the coach certification, which is so exciting.
Welcome,
just sending you extra big bunches of love and celebration, and cannot wait to go on this journey with you.
Welcome to Team Love.
Welcome to Team Love.
Official participant now. Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be magic. And then somebody else asked, what was the big family? Curious how big your family is. Asked, what was the D in rebuild again, please? You got it. Yeah, D is design a thriving relationship. So, all right, well, let's keep rocking with these questions. We certainly have more wonderful ones to share, to respond to. Okay, how do I stop the competition in our relationship? If I tell him I'm hurt, he'll not address it, but tell me about how I hurt him. So my hurt never gets resolved.
Yeah, this is from Satya. So yeah, Satya, this is painful, right? Yeah, you just want to, connect with your beloved, you want to express something important to them. And then, instead of getting validation, right, you're getting their grievance against you, right? So it's like you're trying to connect with them and tell them something vulnerable, and it just becomes like even more of a painful experience for you. So really, we just want to like hold you and hug you, but you're doing the right thing by initiating, right, that conversation. Might just want to do it a little differently. Let's try something a little different. And I'm going to suggest that first of all, you just make the space for your sweetie to be, and just to ask them in a very like gentle, warm, open-ended way, just like, hey, is there anything that I'm doing that's been like hurting you or doesn't feel good? Because I want to be like a wonderful supportive partner to you. And so, you just very softly kind of opening that up. And then, whatever they say, just like make sure you're not defensive at all about it. Just be like, oh, thank you. Like, I really, wanted to know that. Like, that's just, I'll really do my best to not do that, or to kind of change, whatever they addressed. And then like, and only then, right, just say, hey, and and there's something I'd like to share with you, and could you just please listen, and just share kind of that thing that you've been wanting to share, and then just say, I know this isn't something you're trying to do to hurt me, right, or to to disconnect from me. So you're just verbalizing their best intentions, right, and right, there's things happening that just hurts, and you just want them to know that, and don't even expect anything back from them from that. Like, just if they can just hear it, like, just be happy with that. Right. And like, so what you're doing here is you're just practicing like a deeper form of communication, right? You're kind of slowing things down. You're modeling like good listening, right? Which is, couples generally don't have communication problems. They have listening problems, right? And so you're modeling that like in a really healthy way. And the first many times that you do this, like, don't expect it to go well, right? It's like you're kind of learning a new skill, perhaps. But if you stay with it, if you persevere, I guarantee you good things will happen.
Yes, yes. Okay, we're going to keep just to get to, I want to make sure, especially those of you that are here live, to get to some of your questions. So here, Rocco asks, what is the key in picking words of appreciation, gratitude that actually help each other feel truly appreciated? So this is so good. Can I actually, since I just acknowledged your name, some of you have names that you have such a beautiful name. Will you just give us permission to finish reading your question? Just want to make sure we have your permission, confidentiality wise. If you hear this, if you can put in the chat, and just give us permission. Otherwise, we can just read that much and answer that, and we'll answer it from everything else that you wrote. I just want to make sure. I just realized that was a name that was more. Okay, yes. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your permission. It's so good to see you. Okay, so what is the key in picking words of appreciation, gratitude that actually help each other feel truly appreciated? We exchange 3 to 5 appreciations every day, but sometimes I don't feel appreciated for things I want to be appreciated, and it makes things a little worse. I'm not sure how to convey that excuse me, to my partner without sounding critical and discouraging his efforts. So good. Okay, first of all, amazing that you express 3 to 5 appreciations a day. So
Yes.
how awesome is that? So beautiful, you too. And you are spot on. We actually hear this a lot from couples, is like it doesn't land for them. And so one of the biggest, easiest little things is so it can almost seem like a laundry list. Like, I appreciate that you did this. Like, I appreciate that you did the laundry. I appreciate that you took out the trash. I appreciate that you made me breakfast. I appreciate that you spoke kindly to me. I appreciate that you gave me a kiss when I walked in the door. So lovely. And what can be even more meaningful is sharing, I appreciate that because, like, what does it mean to you that your partner did that? So like, I appreciate that you greeted me at the door with a big hug when I walked in today, because I just had a hard day, and I hear of some of my buddies at work and they get home and it sounds like it's just stressful, and it feels the best to know that when I come home, you are there with just so much love. It changes my entire evening. So that like adds, you could certainly even expand beyond that, but adding, I appreciate this because this. And another little thing is like, how did it make you feel? Or how did you feel through that interaction? So those are 2 things that can definitely make a difference. So is that, helpful? I don't know if you're adding those things in your appreciation. You can even put in the chat here if you want to, since we have you up there anyway. And so.
Yeah. And with that super kind of powered appreciation, I think I've heard this several times that, even just going deep with one might be better than like I appreciate you for these 5 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going deep with one, oh gosh, when you did, that thing today, and like I wasn't expecting it, and that happened, and I just felt so taken care of. Like I was really stretched on time, and I didn't think I had time to do it, and I was kind of stressed out, and then like you did it, and it just made me feel like so loved and taken care of, and I just like fell in love with you all over that moment, right? So so just right, I would say just play around with it, like kind of, it's so important to acknowledge, like, hey, we're doing this good thing, right? And it just doesn't, it's not landing, right? Like it just doesn't, like it's not being effective. So let's keep playing with it.
Yeah.
Because right, in a in a thriving relationship, like we want to optimize everything so that works really well for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just try going just really deep with one thing. Try maybe shift up the wording a bit. So it's like, oh, like the thing, I fell in love with you. Again today, as when you did this, or just make it fun.
Make it fun. So important. And also just want to suggest for those of you that do appreciation practices, which we highly recommend, or that want to, implement this, it is absolutely valid to also put requests in. You can even design that into your appreciations, is to do a check-in. Is there anything else that you'd love to be appreciated for right now? You're like, yes, I've been working so hard on this. Can you just acknowledge like what that means to you? And it's like, well, sure, I'm so happy to do that. So again, we want to get so willing. Not all of you will appreciation mean much to. Some of you might be like, why do I have to do this? Shouldn't we just do these things anyway? So let that thinking go. Instead, it's like, wow, if that's like the fuel that keeps my partner inspired to want to keep doing and giving and showing up, why would I not just, like offer them the fuel that means the most to them? And so that's another thing, is just to have that be just sort of a part of it that you're both doing. So wonderful, your sensitivity of not wanting to discourage your partner's efforts. And you could just add that as a part of your check-in. It's like, okay, is there anything else that I can appreciate you for that would mean a lot to you? So that would be another little idea for you. So hope that helps. Thanks so much for asking. Okay, you want to make sure that we prioritize those of you that are so awesome and showed up live. And so not all of you have, thanks so much, dear. Not all of you have your names listed under participants. And so if you submitted, we have more of these that we've printed up. If you submitted a question ahead of time and we have not yet read yours, if you put it in the form ahead of time, can you just put your name in the chat? Because I just want to really prioritize those of you that are here live and make sure yours, Juanita, yes, we have, So tell us, how many people are in your family, your big family? I love your Zoom name. I mean, only if you want to share.
Nine.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
That's
And you're from New Mexico. So wonderful. All right.
welcome.
Welcome.
Love
welcome.
having you here.
Yes. Okay. And amazing that you found time for this call in the midst of a family of 9. Okay. So we're going to read your question. Juanita asks, and I hope let us know if we're not pronouncing your name correctly. What is there to do when one partner is totally committed to growing and learning together, but the other never sticks with anything? He lacks consistency, motivation, discipline, whatever else is needed to keep working and improving rather than stagnate or even backslide. Can this relationship ever really improve, specifically in rebuilding trust and growing in emotional intimacy without both partners working together? How can we support partner 2 in making consistent efforts? So just, yeah, so much love to you, Juanita. That's, we hear these things a lot in relationships, and it can be really stifling, certainly really discouraging, frustrating, when you feel like, it sounds like I can tell you've done so much growth and just like your self-awareness, even the language that you use, like, it sounds like you just want to soar, like you just want this upward spiral of like possibilities. And when you feel like your partner isn't meeting you in that, it can be a really, really challenging thing. So just want to acknowledge you so fully for that, and that you're here and showing up, and that you are committed to growth is absolutely amazing. And so, yeah, a few things. Just one thing, and this is just for all of us, I think, just to always keep in mind that when we witness certain characteristics in our partner, like a lack of consistency, motivation, discipline, those things, it's really easy to interpret. So not suggesting you do this, it's just a good check, is to interpret it as not caring enough to do those things. So it's like, kind of like, if you really loved me, if you really cared about this, you would, be more consistent, be more motivated. So again, not suggesting that you are saying this, but it's really easy to take it personally in some ways, even in like really subtle ways, and to assume like, well, it's just a lack of care. So some cases it might be, oftentimes though, it's so much more than that. And what comes naturally to you might be really challenging for your partner in a way that it's hard to even imagine. So this is not to, make excuses for your partner. It's incredible that you want to grow. And yeah, it sounds like you're really empowered and motivated. So amazing. And what we were sharing before, so a strengths-based relationship is so essential, in order to have our challenges come together. So I'd be curious, even when you first fell in love with your partner, what it is you fell in love with, because what oftentimes happens is what draws us to somebody, are these things that actually balance us. Like, we are naturally drawn to our balance very often. And then over time, those can become the greatest source of frustration. And in some ways, we want a partner, not even consciously, but we want a partner that kind of has all of our strengths, but none of our weaknesses. So we want a partner who is really motivated, really dynamic, but also kind of lower stress and more easygoing, or whatever it might be. And so it's like turning those back over, because on the flip side, of a lack of, motivation, it could be someone that is really easygoing. Maybe they prioritize fun. Maybe they're, willing to do some things that you want to do. So it could be that they're willing to kind of take the lead. So referring back to that leaders and followers situation that we brought up before. So that would be one thing, is to make sure that you're not taking it personally and responding to it as such. Because if someone feels, that their partner is assuming their worst intentions, it can be, especially if this is how somebody is wired, it can just make them freeze even more. It can be really, really paralyzing. We all want to be seen for our good intentions. When we see somebody's worst, we tend to bring out their worst, and our own worst as well. As when we see somebody's best, we tend to bring out their best and ours as well. And when we're seen for our strengths, the things that do come naturally, we just tend to be more engaged, have more energy, find more ways to contribute. So not taking it personally, not assuming your partner's worst intentions. We want to, for the most part, be really looking for our partner's good intentions and things, because they're usually in there somewhere. And the more that we see those, the more motivated they are to keep trying. because someone that struggles with motivation, what is really commonly found is if someone feels like they've already failed, they don't have much motivation for trying to succeed. So it's like, well, I've already disappointed you. Why should I even try now? So you want to set them up for feeling like they can still succeed in some way in your life. And again, not suggesting you're doing these things, but given we don't know the whole situation, just sharing little bits and pieces. And then, please.
So there, right, a couple of things in that question that right, make me wonder, like, is there depression here? And like would probably, well, if I was working, with this couple of clients, like I, probably want to do an assessment for that, and make sure that that person is kind of getting treatment, if so, because depression is, of course, just a very difficult disorder. So there's a lot of suffering there, and we we don't take a pastoral approach to marriage counseling or couples work. What we believe is that, right, like we want to do everything we can to optimize like our love, so that's like this relationship is bringing out the best in both of us, right, that right, we all want that to be the goal, right, of our love life, and we do need kind of a willing partner to do that. So so if you're in a situation where like this is kind of an intolerable situation for you, I would encourage you to to really communicate that, like in a non-critical, like a totally non-critical way with your partner. It's just like, I can't do this anymore. Like I am like so desirous of my greatest life, and and it doesn't feel like you're working with me to do that, right? Like I just need a partner who's like gonna, we're gonna uplift each other, right? And and I'm and I'm on the brink of I can't do this anymore, right? And then create a timeline where it's like, okay, so what I'm committing to is, like 1 year with you to see if we can change this, and here's kind of what I need from you. It's like, I just need for you to, perhaps like get some support in your life, get some treatment, kind of really be kind of take influence from me, right? Like kind of adapt, to kind of what's important to me, for us to get a lot better at meeting each other's needs, right? Take it to the next level or a couple levels up, and do that, like just like be all in, like just be all in, doing like everything right, or most things right, as well as you can do them for that period of time, and then just do, ask yourself some really hard questions, like, okay, that was my best effort, and where did it get us, and just be really honest with yourself about that.
Yeah, I see here there's a two-part question. Okay. So that will offer, it sounds like, a little more insight. So you asked too, do you have specific lessons or what advice can you offer to guide partners through healing after recovery from addiction? Specifically the partner who is not the addict, but who has been hurt, lonely, betrayed, etc. Similar to recovery from an affair in some ways, but challenging in other ways because the addict in recovery still has selfish mindsets and habits. How can partner one in recovery be helped to grow and move out of selfishness? How can partner two be supported in healing? Is it possible for partner two to heal if partner one is inconsistent and unhelpful with the process? So yeah, just holding you in our hearts with this too. And Bret actually his background as a therapist. He led an intensive outpatient program for people with addiction. So I'll let Bret offer some guidance here. Yeah,
well, for partner two there, right, who's in relationship with someone in recovery from addiction, being active in Al-Anon I would highly suggest that, just being part in that support community, in working the 12 steps, and kind of in you're in a different way, but still in a very important way, could be, I think, hugely helpful. And
so Al-Anon, if anybody isn't
yeah.
familiar, would be a support group. I imagine a lot of you are, but a support group for people who are in any sort of relationship and interaction with someone who is experiencing an addiction.
Yeah, or in recovery,
Or in
yeah,
recovery, yeah.
especially recent recovery. And yeah, you know, a person that's in recovery, especially fresh in recovery, now they actually do need to be a bit selfish. That I like that is in a way kind of part of that early recovery, because and by selfish I mean that, you know, like life's really busy, and that addict in recovery really needs to go to their AA or the NA meetings. They need to be kind of actively working a program, right, to stay sober. The relapse rate, you know, and with addiction is just exceptionally high. You know, on average, right, an addict will relapse 8 times before they're able to maintain sobriety. So, there is like a healthy selfishness there, if the selfishness is to work a program. But yes, addiction is it habitualizes extremely self-centered, selfish behavior, like in the worst forms of it. And there's a term, you know, in AA that we use, that, you know, of the dry drunk, right? The dry drunk is someone who isn't drinking alcohol, but they're still acting just like an alcoholic. They're still irritable and moody and unpredictable and selfish, right? And yeah, so if and this is a problem, right? I mean, and so I really, you know, want to just like, yeah, again, like we're just like reaching out and you know, putting our arms around you, and we really want to, you know, kind of support you through this. It's a tough road, but it can be done. And you know, in a good recovery program, it's really about kind of connecting to serving others, right? It's you know, a big part of that healing of, you know, becoming that kind of you know, sober person is about realizing that's like, oh, okay, life isn't about me, right? Like my using self was so self-absorbed, right? It's just you know, it's all about, you know, getting that substance, and you know, getting that you know, keep feeding that addiction. So incredibly self-absorbed. And so yeah, any good recovery program is really about shifting us to serving others. And yeah, and it sounds like your marriage would be the perfect place for that to happen, and for your wonderful big family.
Yes.
So lots of love going out to you.
Yeah, so much love to you. And the rebuild acronym, certainly you could, you know, transfer that to any way that you're rebuilding trust. So expressing regret and remorse for the impact that the addiction has had on the other partner, like really, you know, taking radical responsibility for it. So important. The R, offering empathy, like deeply acknowledging what it's been like for the other person, can be so validating and helpful, and allow your heart to start to open and soften. Doing trust building activities, the B is for build, so important. So it would look a little bit different for you. It's maybe honesty and transparency around different kinds of things, you know, understanding what led to it, right? So important probably for you to understand their story, so you feel like there's some sort of sense of security, and that you just have that deep emotional connection, that you understand one another, and like, oh, that makes so much more sense. You want it to become a place of deep emotional bonding, investing in the relationship, certainly for them to recommit all the energy that was going towards, you know, wherever the addiction was, reinvesting that in the relationship, learning how to love and support one another, you know, as who you are right now, and then designing a thriving relationship. So that would be entirely relevant. And there are certainly other things for repair. You know, we've got regret, remorse, empathy, taking responsibility, seeing what you can do to kind of make it up for the person. So it could be that some, you know, damage was done along the way. And so for some people, it's really healing for them to kind of make those things right. So making amends with those things, having a clear plan moving forward can give somebody a whole lot of validation. Like, okay, these things happened in the past, but now we have a game plan for how we want to move forward together. So yeah, hopefully that gives you something, Juanita. Yeah, love to support you in any other way. There's like so much there that's so important to us and in supporting people.
Yeah.
But
and let me just also just acknowledge that there are, many different risk factors and causes for addiction. But in my mind, the number one cause of addiction is trauma. And you may just want to do kind of a really kind of create a very safe space to look into that with your partner, and just to see if there's been maybe some trauma there that you don't know about, and to help them to get some, if there is any trauma, any abuse, physical, sexual, emotional abuse in their background, to get them treatment for that. I found that to be an indispensable part of recovery programs for many people with addictions. So.
Yeah. And the other last thing, just that could be relevant to everybody, is you mentioned kind of rebuilding trust and growing in emotional intimacy. So just to name, there are 5 of the most common fears that stand in the way of emotional intimacy. So just going to share these 5 in case any of these ring true, because sometimes if we know where the barrier is, we then know where the solution can be. So the fear of being seen, so these are top 5 fears of emotional intimacy. So the fear of being seen, and that usually goes along with the belief that if somebody fully sees me, they might discover these things about me, these unlovable things about me. So I'm going to keep my distance so that you can't fully see me. So a fear of being seen, a fear of merger. So someone who is afraid of losing themselves. I'm afraid of getting close because I might lose myself in it. A fear of being abandoned. So anybody that has any history of that, they might want to abandon you before you can abandon them, or check out or keep a little bit of distance. A fear of getting hurt. So if someone's brain pairs closeness with pain, they might keep some distance, probably will keep some distance unless they've done some healing work. And then the 5th one is a fear of hurting somebody else. So if you don't trust your own impulses, you may keep a little bit of emotional distance that you don't end up hurting somebody else. So that's another, kind of scan you could do. Is there anything there that's standing in the way of emotional closeness that we could work on to really get to deepen it? So let us know. Hopefully that was helpful for you. There's just so much love being sent your way. Okay, April says, I've been listening the entire time from my phone. This has just been so wonderful. Thanks so much for being us, April. So happy it's helpful. And April, did you submit a question? Are you just saying hi, which I'm so glad you did? A big loving hello to you. I just want to make sure if you submitted a question. I don't know if I see a question from you. You did submit. Did you submit really recently? Because if so, that's awesome. But it may have been, if it was in the past hour, it might be. So if you have it, can you type your question in the box here? Okay, so no problem. No problem. If you don't mind, do you still have it that you can put it in the box there? Otherwise, or we can pull it up here and make sure that your question gets answered. Okay, so we might be able to pull yours up here. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's not coming up right now. So maybe if you can type it in. Okay, she's gonna type it in. Well, while April is typing it in, that'll probably be the last question for the night. I think everybody that showed up live, we got your questions answered. If we didn't, please make sure. We would absolutely want to acknowledge you for showing up live and answer your question. Otherwise, I think we might end up doing another Q&A call so we can answer more questions. So how is this for you? Is this helpful? We'd love to hear how it's going and how we can best support all of you. And again, if anybody, just since now is when the window is open, we launched our last certification, started in November. So the next 6-month journey is now. And you would learn how to answer all of these questions that we're responding to, and all the tools and processes. And it's not guesswork. We really want to take the guesswork out of it. And that's one of the things when, recent graduates, things we kept hearing again and again and again is like, oh my goodness, You have made this so clear, so easy. It's like truly repeatable, predictable breakthroughs that you can create in your own life and in the lives of really any couple. It's really like having these formulas for love, and it's extraordinary. It's like, oh my goodness, all of a sudden I have this flashlight, like couples come into the office and they've been stuck in an issue for 30 years, literally. And in one session, they'll be like, I've never, ever looked at it that way. I've never understood you. And now I finally, it all makes sense. And we love to give people the off ramps. So it's thrivingrelationshipcoach.com. Just want to give you an extra warm welcome to check that out. You can apply on that page. And when you apply, you're under no obligation whatsoever to actually enroll. It's just to apply. And then after that, you're invited to hop on a call where we can answer all your questions and just make sure it's a super laid back, friendly call to make sure that we're a great match and just that we can really support you in reaching whatever your dreams are. Some people do this just because they really just want to become relationship experts in their own lives. They want to have the best relationships they can possibly have. It really is an investment of a lifetime. Like, I don't know anybody that would regret having like the best relationships imaginable. So that alone, or it could be that you want to do a career change. We give you everything you need. By the end, you will truly be a certified thriving relationship coach. There's no background needed, no other experience. You will have everything you need fully to have a thriving business as a relationship coach. Or people that want to have it as like a side gig. You're wanting to do some part-time work, or maybe you're entering into retirement, or you're staying at home with the kids and you want something you can do virtually. So you could do it professionally or not, full-time, part-time. It's really for any of the above. So it's thrivingrelationshipcoach.com, who, for anybody that wants to learn more. Ray says, we also need to become our own relationship experts. It is so true. It really,
well said, Ray.
Well
said.
said. I had no idea. I had no idea what I didn't know in relationships. Like, oh my gosh, when I look back to like early on in my years with Bret, I'm like, sorry, Bret, I'm so sorry. Like the things we innocently, unknowingly do in relationships. It's like, oh my gosh, now that I know what I know, I want to like go just like apologize to like ways that I've shown up in the past. So it's so important. And we don't learn this stuff. Like most people don't have role models. We don't learn this stuff anywhere. So not to expect that we would just instantly know these things because we have kind hearts. It's like truly, once we understand it, it all makes so much sense. But before we understand it, it's like, we're just kind of like trying to make our way through the dark of it. Okay, April, I see your question has come in. Anything you wanted to add?
No.
Okay.
I've been told that people either love me or hate me. I'm not sure what I'm doing to unsettle people. I'm always warm and thoughtful, always lifting others. What can I do differently?
Did you add another?
I think there was a...
I just crave close female friendships and find that I can't seem to find my people. I'm so sorry. The tarot you're typing is so beautiful. And is it Cian? That is such a beautiful name. Rose. Wonderful. Name. This has been so fulfilling. I'm so happy to hear that. Thanks for sharing that. And I want to absolutely say your name perfectly because it like looks like art. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, April. Okay, so not sharing what you're doing. So people either kind of love or hate you. So just want to like deeply recognize you for wanting to be warm and thoughtful and lifting other people up is so amazing. And this longing in your heart to feel a deeper sense of community and closeness with people is so beautiful. And you absolutely deserve that, and holding that vision for you to be surrounded by people that kind of mirror that love and that warmth that you have.
And yeah, we really want to honor you for, it sounds like you really want to connect with people, right? You really just love people and humanity, and like you want to have meaningful connections. That's wonderful. And right, so, but there's something going on, right, where you're just, there's something that's getting in the way. And right, so when that happens, it's like, oh, okay, like I want to have a lot of compassion for myself, right? Like, oh, like I trust that I'm like a really good, loving person, like doing the best I can, right? So it's like I give myself a lot of self-love, a lot of compassion, and then, but to be honest with yourself about the results you're getting, right? Like something's kind of off, right? And just to be really open to that, right? Just be like, oh, like, hey, I can, just like get curious about myself, and oh, like what is it, that's really kind of, pushing some people away that I want to connect with, and yeah, just explore that, right? In a way where it's like, if we are giving ourselves compassion, then we can like take that really hard look at ourselves. And in a way, it's a bit ironic, but it's like we don't take it personal, right? It's just like, oh, I'm in just this collection of behaviors and thoughts and emotions, right? That comes from my genetics, from my childhood, from kind of my belief system. And it's like I can change any part of that, right? Just to bring more love, more connection into the world.
Yeah. And it's something that you could even do with people in your life, is just let them know, like, you're just really, going through this growth journey right now. And you just want to really learn, like, what are the things that people really enjoy about your personality? And what are the things that, that don't work as well for them? And that's something like, what works well, what doesn't work well, and invite people that your heart is wide open. You really want to learn and grow. And it's such a brave thing to do. I have, two of my best friends and we do those check-ins with each other, because I know I have so many blind spots, and I like rely on people in my life to help me see myself more closely. And sometimes I'm like, okay, what am I not seeing about myself right now? And it's like, even in some moments, like now I've just become so hungry for it, but I think even some moments it can be a scary thing to ask, actually invite someone to like let us know how we're being our perfectly imperfect selves. And I never regret it. It's like what the feedback that I receive. And of course you get to choose like the part that resonates and the part that doesn't, because it's going through their own filter. And so you get to be the ultimate authority, over what works, what doesn't work. But just to like receive, like, is there any bit of gold in that I can use for my learning and growth? And so you want to be really, really open to feedback. And we can really invite that, from the people in our lives, anywhere in our lives. And the other thing that I just want to share, April, another possibility is, maybe you're not around your people, and, just want to give you a lot of validation, because you put any one of us around people that aren't our people, and they're not going to enjoy us, like
put a happy person with a bunch of unhappy people, and that happy person will annoy all those unhappy people, right? So and there's nothing wrong with the happy person. Right? Like they're getting it right.
So that's also really important, that we're all projecting onto one another. And so there could be some people that you're surrounded with, and they're just projecting onto you whatever's happening inside of them, if they haven't done their own kind of personal growth work. And so just to also look at the source, the people that don't feel as drawn to you are those people that you want to be more like. Are those the kinds of people that you want to for you to emanate more, that you want to be around more? If not, love them, bless them, and I wouldn't give that much energy at all.
Find your people.
It's so important that we find our people, that we feel inspired, uplifted, that we feel seen for who we are. Just want to like really, I just wish your screen was on your faces on the screen now, so we could just see you and reflect back to you all of the beauty and warmth and upliftment that you bring in, positive energy. So it's really important that we have people around us that see us for who we really, really are too. So wishing that so much for you. Okay, so
thank you everybody for all of your questions.
Make sure we got them all. Thanks so much. Often we need to meet our own need for connection with ourselves first, and then others are drawn to us rather than trying to get them to come towards us. Beautiful, Ray. That would be absolutely another wonderful insight, is to make sure that we are fully loving ourselves. Actually, that Ray, so exciting. Relationship coach, is so beautifully put. It's like anything we're looking to receive from other people, it's like we want to always look, okay, am I actually giving in our romantic relationship? It's like whenever I think that I want something from Bret, I'm like, wait, am I actually giving that thing even to myself right now? Or from anybody in life, whatever it might be. So that is such a good place to look. And then Ray, I have done this far too much of my life. I have a lot of empathy for this person. So much empathy for you, April. I'm sure so many people can.
We are all with you, April.
Can relate to that, and just Yeah, thanks for being who you are, and keep shining that beautiful heart of yours, and let it be a beacon to draw to you, other people that can meet you in your level of love and care, and may you give that towards yourself. Okay, so I think we answered the questions of everybody that showed up live. Thank you all so much for being here live.
Such a delight to have you all here. Thanks for spending the evening with us. Really, it's such an honor, to be, in part of this community. And you all are on the love team now, and let's just keep doing it. Let's keep making this world a better place.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all doing it together for sure. Thank you all so much. And we're available if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. So I'm Christine at centerthrive.com. Bret is Bret with one T. So I'll just put that in the chat here. So you all, if you have any questions or anything from today, and if you want to just stay in the loop about anything, Christine at centerthrive.com. We've got Bret at centerthrive.com. Feel free to follow up with us about anything, and we'll probably be doing some more of these Q&As. We love connecting with you in this way.
Me too.
Yeah,
we really value it. So, all right, we will see you again.
Yeah, big hugs from our hearts to each one of you. Thank you so much for truly spreading more love in the world, and everything you're doing to grow in your own lives has ripples beyond what we can even wrap our heads and hearts fully around. All right, thank you all so much. Blessings to you.